Good afternoon. It's Joyful Christian Hermit. I don't know why this is getting to me so much, other than I guess trauma goes with the Narcan and PTSD um, goes with the septic shock, and my upper back is so bad. I don't know. It's just been the hardest situation I've gotten through or gone through. I'm not through it, and I had all these ideas of how I was going to build up. I was all gung-ho in that rehab to build up. Usually I'm that way, that I'm going to prove people wrong. And, it takes you all this long time to recover. And no, I'm going to get up and be up going. And I do know the thing with the house got to me. I wasn't anticipating that. I wasn't anticipating any of this. And just the mistreatment in the ER and what they did to me has really affected me. But I'm trying to move on from it, but it's hard. It's a trauma that keeps coming back, PTSD kind of reaction or something. Worse maybe than the septic shock. Or I'm using that as what I keep thinking, had they not done that to me, I wouldn't have the worst back. But I went to the neurosurgeon this morning. Sean drove me, and I needed to be driven. I'm off balance today. My neck probably doing that. My neck is very stiff today. I don't know why, but maybe that is doing it, or it can be, from the arachnoiditis with my brain causes imbalance, whatever. But so I've lost more weight. I'm thinner than I've been in my adult life, and what are you gonna do about it? So I have my protein drink in the morning, and I've got to make sure my guts are moving, because I've had 2 blocks already that would have been built up more. But I could feel it in the left side, so it's the lower colon there. So, or the pump, but I don't think it's getting stuck by the pump. It wasn't, it shouldn't do that. There's plenty of room for the pump sticks way out, so it's not really pressing in that deep, I don't think. So, but the neurosurgeon, I was going there to see if he could do this block for me. He said he had a new kind of a different block to use on my back. And he asked where the pain was in my thoracic, and I said how much worse it was since what they did to me in the hospital. And he did say that he didn't think it was the seizures. He thinks it's from the septic shock. He says septic shock can cause all kinds of inflammation in the body. He says, I think it's a lot of inflammation that's causing the pain to be so much worse. Well, whatever it is, it's bad. And he says, slowly over time that might get better. But anyway, but he can't, where it is, he showed me on the spine. He says, the only thing that would help in that spot of the spine, he can't do the block in that part of the spine, the thoracic spine. He says, it won't help it. He said, surgery would be the thing. But he says, if I do surgery there and fuse you there, then you're just going to have it get worse above that. My neck is already terrible. It's on a death watch list for whenever I lose function or it becomes life-threatening, because the nerves from the neck, they go into your heart, into your lungs, into your brain. So he says when that becomes life or death, then I have to operate on the neck. And that surgery itself is so dangerous, it's life-threatening. So he has to wait for my condition to be life-threatening to do that. So that would put me out even more. If I lived, it'd be a good chance I'd be paralyzed or quadriplegic, even neck down. Or I wouldn't be able to drive anymore, couldn't move my head. I'm not driving much now. anything just wipes me out. So my trip to Costco, I was in bed the rest of the day then and the next day. Able to get up the evening of the next day, and I think that's when I made the soup maybe, which wiped me out. So I pruned there were 3 plants out there and a rose I pruned. Well, 2 plants and a rose. And then I came in and I've been on the bed ever since. The big trip into the neurosurgeons. And then I ended up telling him what happened. It's trauma. It just comes out of me, what they did. I feel like they ruined what little bit of life I had. I told him. He says, well, how did you get the septic? And I said, well, my gut distends out. It's not normal constipation. It distends out within a minute or two to the point I am just huge. And I said it shoved, and then nothing was done about it. It shoved into the intestinal walls. And they were so busy Narcaning me twice, thinking I was a drug overdose, and had me ready, discharged me. This ER doctor, head of the ER, said he was discharging me, angry with me, because they get tired of these drug addicts coming in with their overdoses. And that's what he thought I was. I didn't even have my icky work clothes on, and a nice pair of slacks on a top, and my pink sweater my eldest daughter had got me a few years ago. Well, about 15 years ago. But I wear it, It's sort of my prayer sweater for her and her husband. So, I didn't look like I wasn't all dressed in my work clothes with old torn shirts or faded shirts and my worn out overalls. So anyway, but he said no, he thinks it's, but he did put in a referral for a colorectal surgeon, and he wrote on it, could be caused by arachnoiditis. He says we don't know for sure it is. Maybe they'll see something else that's the problem. But my connection, and I wouldn't have had those 2 words come to me the other day, just pop in my head, that voice saying Narcan seizures, if that isn't some connection with how bad I feel. And even my legs, they still hurt, but I can move them, but something happened to my body. And I don't think that was muscle up there. I don't think that would be inflammation, but who knows? I mean, granted, he is a great nurse. He knows a little more than me, so I decided I would accept that it was more inflammation from the sepsis. There's something to do with the septic shock that was causing my back to be so much worse. He wouldn't know really unless he took another scan and compared it with the bad thoracic spine I have. So I have, I'm trying to face a little more reality. And yeah, I've been angry about the house situation, and I wish my daughter had never brought it up and just let me come to it if I needed to. Because I keep thinking in my mind I would have tried harder. I think I would have. And then I would have found, well, I can't do this. But I have to admit, when I do try, I mowed last evening, I did pretty well. I had to take a breakthrough pain med, though. I mean, I'm going to have to do that. If I'm going to be functioning, I'll have to take more pain med in order to do that. But it's thought it's better to take the pain med, the 4 milligram, and keep active than just to decline in bed. With arachnoiditis, that's the worst thing for you, is to not push to keep mobile. But at this point, I would need the extra pain med to do that. It's not cutting it on my extended release. That's not cut it enough. I can't do it. And I know some people would think, well, you know, and maybe I would be one of those in the past. I could push through. I could do it. No, 3.5 years ago, I could no longer get up in the morning. I could not use my mind to get me up. And I'm very strong-willed. And so I got the one dog, and she was so compliant and did not make me get up till 11:30, which was better than the 3:30 or 4 I was staying in bed. But now they get me up, but I'm back in bed. See, so that's been for a while. I was declining this last year, but I was building up with I just have to face the reality of this septic shock and the fact that I can get infections easily now, at least for a year, catch anything that's out there. And I wore a mask in there, but I kept having to lift it up because I get so dried out, I have to keep drinking. And I don't know why I'm so dried out other than the Narcan and or the septic shock. So I got my little bowl of watermelon here, because that helps. I'm paranoid about my intestines. And so that works. That helps clear them out. I had my 3 egg white and an egg yolk omelet, small little eggs this morning. And the dog's got the little 2 extra egg yolks from the other 2 little eggs. But somebody had mentioned that people leave comments, but since if I'm not agreeing with them, they take them down or don't write comments anymore. But I just want to express that to me, I'm expressing myself. I'm working through. This is the worst thing, health-wise, I've had to work through for whatever reason. I told the neurosurgeon, I said, remember the massive, intricate surgery you did on me 6 years ago? Oh, yeah, he remembered. It's very intricate, serious, and long surgery and massive. Year recovery. And I said, this was by far worse than anything with that surgery. I said that this was so horrific. I said, especially the Narcan. I said, I can never go back to ER. I'll have to die at home if I get another gut attack. I cannot go through that again at ER. I said, it's traumatized me. I mean, I was yapping about it, and then at the end, I'm so sorry. I know, I was just all, I said, I'm just traumatized. He says, I understand. And oh my gosh, yeah, I am. So I just can't. And then to hear, he can't do the block on me. I sort of had my hopes built up that he would do this block, not today, but set it up. He was going to explain it. And no, so I have to face that, how bad my back is now. And maybe in time, as he says, if he thinks that it's inflammation, that yet remains to be seen. When a voice tells me Narcan seizures, see that I know my little experiences with God. Now, it could have been the devil saying that to me. The devil can imitate God and maybe trying to throw me off. I don't know. Or it might be a combination of things. But I still want to get better, but I'm just whipped. Or I don't know, something's wrong with me. I said it right at the very beginning to the nurse. I remember the ICU nurse. They said, something's happened to me. I'm altered. So I've got to adapt to this new state. And, part of me, I wish one of those townhomes just a couple of blocks away that look out on this golf course would come available. But they're more expensive. But see, and then I wouldn't have the money for it. But even if one came for rent, my daughter could rent hers, and then she could use that money to help me with the rent on the other, because the rent's expensive. Or maybe my eldest daughter would help me with the rent, or I could just use up what is left of my inheritance. But then I think, oh, grow up. You're supposed to be a hermit, you have to detach. Don't need to have something lovely to look out on and more light. I'll have that in heaven. Grow up and just do the trade and have a little fenced area for the dogs. Do something nice for the dogs who are sacrificing their lives for me. They're not having a fun life. I'm not up for driving to the dog park. I could, but it just takes so much out of me then. And I will at some point. I'm just not ready yet. Oh, I just got to drive there and get out, and then I plop on the bench and sit on. It's a wood bench at least, but then my back's worse, my lumbar's worse. And just driving there and back, my thoracic was all bad. And sitting on a little padded seat in the doctor's office, I'm too exhausted to stand. Usually I stand places. Stand, and as soon as they come in, then I'll sit appropriately, if they want to talk with you. But otherwise, I stand while I'm waiting. I don't do any extra sitting. I'm too tired to stand. So, and the spine hurts so bad. The thoracic hurts when I stand. So I think God is sort of giving me answers, If the neurosurgeon says, oh yes, we'll try this spine block and it's different than the others, and then at least there'd be a hope that, yeah, that would work, and it might be 3 months it would last, but hey, wouldn't that be great? Because pain is fatiguing and debilitating. And it also, on top of everything else, it can get in your mind, and you have to distract from it. And that's what gardening did for me. But if I can lean over, that's okay. But just out there doing the 3 plants, they had needed a lot of pruning, and the rose bush did too. And the dogs are being so good. They just stood there. Mercy just stood right by me. She's my protector. And Lovey, though, was sniffing around, which was good, But Mercy was hanging with me all the way. And so, they weren't pulling or wanting to go do this or that. They were content just being with me on their leashes while I pruned. And then I'd say, we're taking this to the trash can. They know what that means. And off we walk and back we go. And so they're being so wonderful and calm. Lovey has to go real bad in the morning. He wants to pull up. I say, no pull. And he just slows down. I said, wait, I've got to close the door. He'll back up. They're bending over backwards. They don't want to go back to the kennel. They don't want more trauma either. So, but I'm not even up for like packing my books or getting started on getting stuff together, or there'd be things I would love to do in here, work things. I was gonna get my clothes ready for the Goodwill, or no, probably St. Vincent's, but thrift shop I don't take to Goodwill. I look at places that have the least overhead taken out. Excuse me, so sorry. Excuse me. And so I'm not gonna. I don't think I'll spend a lot. I'll keep some nicer things to sell, but I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to sell stuff that doesn't matter. People wouldn't want really or be that excited about online. My grandson mentioned, oh, there's this Plato's Closet place over by a mall. And for me to think about driving somewhere, maybe he'd take him for me sometime. He's gonna take me to the eye doctor Thursday morning. My glaucoma, that's been postponed. My eyes are getting worse just from cataracts growing. So I'll have that to deal with. And if I end up having a colostomy, that's going to be at least 2 weeks. And then they say 8 weeks to recover totally. That's if everything goes right. And I'll have to read up on it in advance because my knee's so bad. He says, well, that's the inflammation then from the... But my grandson even says with seizures that your muscles can just tense up terribly, tighten, and then release, and you move around. And so that could do a knee also. So it could be either or. But just driving anywhere or having this, I'd have to read up on colostomy because my knee surgery after the fact, when it failed, I researched. And sure enough, if you have arachnoiditis and you have a knee replacement, just a little obscure tidbit of information, you don't find much on arachnoiditis details, but that was in the study that oxidative stress starts on the cells right in the surgery itself, and the fibrotic tissue starts to grow then. So it wasn't for lack of moving my knee, but the pain was so bad. I was under medicated when I had the knee surgery. I only had my pain medicine for my arachnoiditis. So then he had to give me extra for the knee so that I could do my exercises and move it and stand up, try to do what you have to do. Because that's a very painful surgery. But I had double pain and had half of the pain covered. And I'm adept at pain management. I've been on it for 41 years since the accident. Ways to handle pain. That was going to be my dissertation for my clinical psychology doctorate. I had that dissertation all mapped out. But it's going to include spiritual ways of pain management. So, no, it's just a situation. But as far as comments, and I'm sharing things and going back and forth, and I know the holy way and the hermit way would be, of course, to relinquish, loosen my grip and my attachment, even my attachment to the windows and the light that comes in and the views, and my nice, big white counters out there that even bring more light. It's cheerful to have light. For me, it is. I don't like darkness. The Midwest long winters always got to me. I didn't have SADS, but close to it, I think. A seasonal affective disorder, it's called, where you can get low in dark weather and long winters and things. But and I'm attached to the view and to the gardens. I've had to leave gardens before, though, so that's not... And if I don't feel well enough to take care of them and go out there and mess with them, then it's not as intriguing. I see Silas Marner is blooming, and I'm going to take Silas Marner with me and put roses in my daughter's place. So Camilla, Silas will come with the prayer plant, and I might take laurels. Her phlox is blooming. I don't look at her thing. I happen to look at it, and I just glance. It was just the same old stuff. She was going on about something somebody had written in, and she knew who it was. She's not saying my name because she's at least matured that much, but on and on, But see, that's her privilege to do that and to try to defend or to go against anything I would say, and then use her own, just pontificates and gives her something to talk about. I come up with my own stuff. My life is filled with enough junk to talk about that bring up topics that a lot of people have already dealt with or will. And I appreciate the help. So you give your input. But this person was saying, if I don't agree with it, then people just want to take their comments down, delete them, and not leave comments anymore. Well, you have to understand, I'm not going to agree with everything that people suggest. If you're just in conversation with a friend, and they even ask for your advice, and you're giving it. But if it isn't something they can do, or given all the other information they're getting in, isn't the best thing to do, then you can't expect them to take what you want. but understand that it's still good to give it. What if it is something that is, plus something that isn't quite right is still excellent to read and to think through. And you think through, well, no, that isn't quite right for what I need to do. Or maybe the person doesn't have all the information. Like there was a comment today, and I think the person had my daughters confused. The daughter that didn't come to my bedside shouldn't be considered. Well, see, the daughter that's here was there 5:30 in the morning. So she saw that message at 5:15. She woke up at 5, quickly dressed and drove. She was only 5 minutes away. Got to the hospital at 5:30 and was like in shock. And just the other day, we were a day apart, thinking, why didn't they call her? They should have called her when they had me in the ER, unresponsive and near death, with low blood pressure so low they thought I was going to die. Thought I had overdosed even. So, why didn't they call her? They didn't. And they wouldn't have called her at all. It was me at 3 in the morning. I found out it was 3 in the morning, and the surgeon said he had to operate on my forehead. He put it that way, operate on your forehead. And I'm like, what on earth? And then he said something else, and I said, I don't understand any of this. Call my daughter. She'll sort it out and tell you. She can tell you. Now, I couldn't give permission for something I didn't even know anything about. Why on earth would someone be operating on my forehead at 3 in the morning? See, I didn't realize I had been unconscious for 12 to 13 hours minimum at that point. Probably 13 and a half hours or more. And before that, I was unconscious all but 3 little short times I woke up from not being Narcaned. And then after, when he was saying he was sending me home, who did I have to pick me up? No one. Then he leaves in a huff, and this voice beside me that increasingly I think was my angel. I kept having this voice of something beside me explaining things to me that the doctors didn't explain. Well, he's gone to get an ambulance lined up for you. And the other guy, well, he needs to put lines down in your veins. And then later, well, he had to stop because your veins keep collapsing. Always this kind voice explaining. I'm convinced it was my angel at this point. So helping to explain what these people weren't explaining. So, but no one would have ever called my daughter had I not said. She only knew to come because of this message that some surgeon wanted to do surgery on her mother who was in ICU. Or not in ICU, but at the hospital. I wasn't in ICU yet. I don't know where I was. Some little surgery bay or something. I don't know. Minor surgery. It was going to be 15 minutes, he said. But still, so... So, no, she was there all day into the night, next day until 3, and she had 4 people flying in from Seattle who had paid their fees to have 2 or 3 days of intensive training. And she had to be there. And the nurses kept having her leave anyway because they kept doing things with me, and I would keep having these horrible gut things and horrible explosions that would take a while to get me cleaned up. They always had to have her leave, and doctors are different people coming in. Oh, occupational therapist and physical therapist, I could not get up. Not with my gut like it was. Not unless they wanted to have housekeeping follow along behind me with sanitation buckets and however they would clean up the floors from my explosions. So, anyway, but oh no, they weren't giving me any laxative. So yeah, she did. I mean, and my kids, I understand work. She's single and needs money and has her career, and you can't have people fly in and say, "Oh no, I can't." I'm sure if I had been in some life or death situation at that point, but she apologized, said, "No, you go. You've got to go." I said, and I was in and out anyway. I was so exhausted, so she didn't need to be sitting there. Most of the time, I didn't even know where she was. They had her behind some curtain, and so, and then she totally misunderstood. She says, "I told her that I didn't get to the hospital till 8. But no, I always said like 11:30 or 11:20. Gotta look up on my phone when was my last text to her, but she had that confused. Then she was even more upset that they didn't call her. Because she thought, well, 8 at night, they probably figured they'd call her in the morning or something. But no, I wondered why they didn't call her. She's the person on my list, if someone's near death and having a situation like that, or even overdosed, you'd think they would call the next of kin. But my daughter could have come and said no, she was having a gut attack. She doesn't overdose. She never would, would have at least, but they probably wouldn't have believed her either. Probably thought she was an enabler or maybe an addict herself. Who knows? They're so gone. They are so biased against opioids. And any of you, I hope that this opens your eyes. That yes, people who take opioids who have no pain or emotional pain and take drugs to get high, or who take them and have an addictive personality already, they will be addicted. Now, it takes more than 3 days. Some guy at this church thing I went to, they were saying how didn't want his wife to take any medication, and she wouldn't either. She was too afraid she'd be addicted. She was given 3 days of low-dose hydrocodone, Vicodin, low dose for her shingles. So instead, she paced day and night. She had no sleep because she refused to take even half of one of those pills to help her shingles pain, which was severe. And she was like in her late 60s or early 70s. And see, it shoots up your blood pressure. You can die. So my aunt had a massive stroke because she wouldn't take, I think she had maybe 3 pills her doctor gave her for her terrible sciatica, and she was 89 and was in so much pain. She had a massive stroke, nearly died. So, and had to learn everything. Well, she couldn't read again because she lost her eyesight. Her hearing was damaged. She had to learn to walk again, to eat again, and speak. She had to learn to speak again. And never, it's hard to understand her ever since then, but she lived to be nearly 97. Would have lived longer, not been for that. She was in great shape. And so, no, people are so scared because of what has gone around. She just heard what was in the news or what other people would say. Not how terrible. Don't ever take any. Well, if you're in pain and you don't, you'll do more damage to your body. It'll harm your organs to have too much pain. So, but arachnoiditis, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, and others that you read, that's the only medication that will really help take the pain down. They try you on all these other things like gabapentin and different things. Now they're finding that gabapentin is a real lead-in for early dementia. But it didn't work for me. And it doesn't really take pain away. It just wired me. I was very wired and agitated all the time. And I'm glad because the side effects are so bad to these medicines. They had me on meloxicam for years, and that did in my kidneys. So, and it didn't help the pain. As it turns out, I went off of it right away, and there was no difference at all in my pain level. Still bad. So, see, we have to watch for ourselves. Somebody else was saying, you got to advocate for ourselves. And And we do, but we also have to research and read and not take things that aren't really helping us enough to offset the bad side effects that you can get from these chemical meds created by drug companies to sell and to make money for the stockholders. So they put out a lot of literature about how great they are and then downplay all the horrible things it does to your body. So, so this is where I'm at. And I'm trying to have my mind on, what God wants and what I realistically can do. Even if I'd wait another year or half a year and see if I get better from the septic shock, sure, probably, hopefully. Don't know though. Or, and how my back is going to be then. Could I even do the gardening? So, and if I get a colostomy, if I get that surgery, how's that going to go? Will the arachnoiditis affect something with that and cause it to be a problem or a longer recovery? Or something go wrong? I'm prone to trouble. I collect it. So, I did think about these lurking attachments that I have, that God has shown me. My attachment to light and to spaciousness. My attachment to views and to a water feature. I love water, looking out on water. My attachment to, I don't know what else was there. There was something else that I realized an attachment to. Calling my own shots, choosing my own places. See, I wouldn't choose that townhome. Although the floor plan's good, it has 3 bedrooms, which is nice for resale. And has that little backyard area, fenced and quiet. I did find out, my grandson said, no, he stays there off and on and never heard TV through the walls. So that was just my own waking up with that, or the devil implanted that fear that there was TV on day and into the night. That was my big thing a couple of days ago when I woke up. Oh my gosh, I can't have noise like that, can't do that. So, big thing will be the tile floor, but I am thinking, because the plan is that I would just go live there. They would get all my stuff out of here, which they will find is not that much stuff is mine. I have very little furniture, actually. And my books will probably take several boxes. And I have dishes, but I have a couple things for my mother sets that I'm going to send to the granddaughters. The other one I think I'll try to sell or thrift shop it, because it's just a big place and I don't need it. And it's not in that great a condition, but people who have that from the 40s or early 50s might want it. Some of the dishes are good, and then they could put their good dishes in. It's thistleware, called thistleware. So my mom got it the year I was born. So I inherited that, but it's, I don't use big plates. I grange eat. This is from my mother's good china, but I can't put it in the microwave, so it's not as convenient, but it's great for this. And sometimes I'll heat something and put it in there. It's in a casserole thing or something that I've made something. So, or soup is what I make, but I put it in a casserole dish and freeze it and then heat it up. But, so, let go of my own attachments, of my own places. But I was thinking that maybe I could just stay in here and they work around it. And then when they have like the dining room done, I could go put the bed in there. They could put the bed in there for me. But then I thought, well, don't be ridiculous. The other thing I've considered is that they may find this is too much. See, it's still going to be in my name. It's in my trust. So it doesn't belong to anyone else. legally until I'm dead. So, it could be I'd end up back in here at some point. But I honestly am concerned about keeping up the gardens, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the future's going to hold as far as, what I'll be able to do with my back so bad. And the thing with arachnoiditis that I cannot ignore is that it worsens with age. And it has been. There's only so long you can put it off. It's been a miracle that I haven't been totally bedridden years ago because of all this pushing and being on that island and having to redo that place. But this just may be that I'm entering a period where I'm going to be on the sofa, on the lounge I got, the lounge chair. It's very hard, but I can put it in different positions, and the bed. And have to let go of other things. It's hard. I'm back and forth. My eldest daughter was wise. She told her sister she'll be back and forth many times. And I wrote her, I said, you're right, I am, just even mentally, without saying anything. And this other daughter, the one that wants, I thought, isn't it nice that someone wants it? I would be in a real pickle if I had to just sell it as is. I wouldn't get nearly out of it what just a little bit of finishing would do. The bulk is done, but that doesn't matter often to appraisers. Definitely not to bank mortgage appraisers. Doesn't matter if you have everything but a rounded door with trim on it. If that bathroom doesn't have trim, then the house is appraised very low and has to be sold as is. And they will not give a mortgage to someone for it. Somebody has to buy it with cash. That's why often investors or contractors buy them and then fix them up and sell them for a killing. Because people get desperate then. They get into tight spots and have to sell and can't finish it. So at least I have a daughter who wants to finish it and will pay people to help. And she has contacts that she can hopefully find people that will do a decent job and won't rip off. And I'm sure she'll do some of it. I said I could help you. Well, I thought I could. But I can at least tell them what to do and how to do it and to use my tools. And when it's all done, I need to sell my tools and I'll make some money on those. See, that's a cheery idea to me. I always like making a little more money because I've spent so much. But in my case, it doesn't matter that I have money. I don't need anything. I'm not traveling. I'm not out to eat. I'm not buying clothes. I have clothes that will last me the rest of my life. And I did get another one of these because the other one was wearing out. It gets holes in it. It's very thin material. They were $20. Amazon. So I have bought something in the last 20 years. But so, and why not have somebody be, I don't want to have more consternation. And I know she would be gracious and whatever, but there was a change, there was a shift. The one time I said, I want to wait 6 months. There was a shift. And then I realized, why am I waiting 6 months? You know what difference does it make? And then I come back to, why did God have this happen? Now somebody said, well, it's just accidents. And that's one way of viewing it. It was just an accident that happened. But I view everything very spiritually. It's ingrained in me. It's born with it. And immediately, when I was in, more came to in that ICU, I thought, what, God wants something different in my life to have this happen. In my life, in my past life, my past years, anything that would happen, even that accident in 1984, August 22nd, Everything unfolded from that. Within 2 weeks, my whole life changed. The husband didn't want to be married anymore. My pain was there and wasn't going away. Life had changed big time. And it went on from there then. That wasn't enough. Less than 3 years later, I had the spine surgery that I died in recovery and had to have another one that gave me the arachnoiditis that I didn't know what it was, but the surgeon after a while realized I was permanently disabled with pain after he did bunches of different tests, and first thought maybe it was just psychological with me, and then thought, well, when he found out no, then found out, well, maybe she doesn't have much pain tolerance. There's people that have low pain tolerance. Had me tested and found out I have extremely high pain tolerance. So no, that wasn't it. So, and other people weighed in and assured him that I couldn't sit in one place, I couldn't stand in one place. I could sit better now, but not much than then. But that was after the surgery. And it does take a bit to adapt to suffering. So this will take more to adapt to, but I'm worn out. And as they say, the nurse said, "Do you realize you've lost a lot of weight?" And I wasn't heavy to begin with. So I was 131 in the last time I was there, which wasn't long ago. So in maybe 6 weeks, or it might have been 2 months, but I think maybe I was 128 sometime after there. But I'm 117 now with clothes on and my sandals. So they're not just real skinny little sandals. They have some weight to them. But yeah, so I've never been that thin since maybe high school or junior high, because I was always tall and healthy. So, but it's just reality, and there's not much I can eat because I'm also on a low bacteria diet. Now, I could eat meat and things, but I don't have appetite for so many things because the septic shock takes your appetite away and takes your taste. So it's a so yeah, like if somebody would say, well, you need to be eating so and so or such and such, and it's not on that diet, see, then I can't. It doesn't mean that I'm angrily disagreeing or resent anyone asking or suggesting, because what you're suggesting, somebody else out there will read the comment and think, hey, I want to be on that kind of diet, or I'm going to try that supplement, or if this happens to me, I'm going to keep my house and wait. And I could wait, but I'm thinking, why not give this other person joy? She's suffered. She was in an apartment. That's been 2 years into her third year now of renting, and now she owns a little place. But and I think about how lovely this house is and how fun it would be for her to entertain her friends here. See, I've got to start thinking, I think like God would think, of letting go and doing lovely thing for someone else. But yeah, I want my daughter and my granddaughters to have something if I can. And I thought, and I have this thing, I want my children and grandchildren to be proud of me, to have some kind of esteem, which is probably prideful. That's pride, isn't it? But I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could do something um, that my kids would and grandchildren would think, well, Grandma had a lot going for her after all. They don't know me other than as sort of a pain maimed person. Wouldn't it be nice if I could have the focus to write something and get it published or something and or have this house in the family? At least the daughter and the granddaughter would be impressed. And if there were enough money in it, if they did have to sell it, then the other daughter, she doesn't need money, but she doesn't want to have to do. And I think it's okay to consider other people's jobs and their careers and their families. My mom really regretted on her deathbed that she didn't let her mother, my grandmother, come stay with us. We had an extra bedroom. Well, my dad had a little office, but it used to be a bedroom when my oldest sister was coming home from college at Christmas break. I had a bedroom, and then my other sister, who was still in college, had a bedroom, and my mom and dad had one. But my oldest sister graduated, and my next older sister was in college, and she would come back for Thanksgiving or Christmas, but often would go spend like one of the holidays with her boyfriend's family. So we really could have arranged, and we had a day bed in my room and a twin bed. I could have slept on the day bed, and my grandma could have slept on the twin bed, or could have slept in my sister's bedroom until Christmas break and then sleep with me in my room. But my mother, for some reason, didn't want to. And my grandmother was supposed to stay with an uncle, and they had extra bedroom too, in fact. But my aunt didn't want Grandma there. Grandma had started having a lot of gas. She was having bowel issues, gas and burping. She had gallbladder or something. Well, it's removed, but she had issues. She was 80, but it was very upsetting to my grandmother to have her son have to tell her that you can't stay with us. So she stayed with an aunt in that town for a little while, and then stayed with us for a little while, not long. And then my mom got her into a nursing home, but not in our hometown, in a nearby one that she thought my grandmother would like because it was affiliated with her church, Church of the Brethren. But my grandmother was away from her sister, who lived in our hometown, and from everyone she knew. So she died. I only saw her once, because no one would drive far in that day. That would be in 1968, summer of 68. And in the Midwest, people were very conservative. They didn't drive out of town much. So I saw my grandmother once before she passed, from when she was in the nursing home. My mother took me to visit her one time, and her eyes were gone. It was like she had died. She was so sad. And I asked her, have you met any friends here? Grandma has tried me. I'm always trying to encourage. And she hadn't. She didn't want to. She had her friends. She had her sister. She had her friends in the hometown. So it was a total misread of what to do. And my mother, on her deathbed the last couple months, so regretted. And I said, Mom, let it go. But I said, it's too bad we didn't. I said, I always wondered why we didn't. And she says, well, I was even thinking of I could have taken a sabbatical that year from teaching and just stayed home with my mother and taken care of her, but she didn't. So she regretted it. And maybe sometimes we learn most before we die things that we regret. So at my mom's deathbed, she was thinking about this and felt terrible. And maybe that was good, that she felt that remorse. So, but I want people, please keep leaving comments Or if you want to remove them because I don't agree with them, that's okay. I'm not, it's just a video, a vlog. And, with my thoughts and now with this experience, and I'm trying to sort it out from God's view and what God wants of me. And it's been hard, I have to admit that I've been through periods of a lot of resentment, of a regret. Why didn't she just not ask me? Just let it ride. But I got my grandson and I had a talk, and it's true. My vibes were right. She's very much wants. Well, what young woman who had a home, well, didn't for quite a while, and then finally got one when she was married, after they were married, and then ended up losing it through a dirty deal that her husband did. So got bamboozled, so she couldn't keep her house, and hasn't had one for nearly 3 years. Over 3.5 or 2.5 years. Not the end of the world, but here's this one to be used by people. But if she can't keep it up or decides against it, then I'd be back. And I'd have to figure out, probably sell some bushes, or, I'd go out and do my best. Now it's got issues because no one's been tending it for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. 4 weeks. So I've just done little bits, but I need to work on it, because a garden could get out of hand really fast. You got to stay up on them. Got to stay up on weeds and on pruning and feeding and making sure watering. I've lost the Jocosi. Scoliodipitus is dead out in front. No idea how that died. It's just been out there while I was gone. Same watering's been on it. Unless something happened, the couple of days the water was off, maybe. So that one's dead. I gotta get out there and remove it, cut it down, and when I'm better, or daughter or grandson could dig it out or leave it. Maybe it would grow back up again. Sometimes things will from a stump. But so this is where I am right now. It might change, but getting the feedback from the neurosurgeon made a big difference. Hearing that he can't do the block, it's not the right spot for it, and that he didn't really recommend the surgery at all, because it'll just get worse, get up higher. Then you just have to keep fusing and fusing and fusing. And so I have to change my lifestyle. Even taking enough pain meds would, then, if you take a lot, then it can affect your intestines. What I was taking was not the main thing for my gut. It was the arachnoiditis, and I'm betting on it, because that's why we had the pump put in 6 years ago. It started. And by having the pump, then I wouldn't have the orals going through my whole system. The pump just goes directly into the spinal dural space. You use 1/300th of the medication, but they can't put it up high to cover the high parts. There's no room for a pump up in your rib cage, for example, or your heart's there. They can't take out your heart and put your pump in instead. So it's just how it is. So anyway, I hope you'll leave comments still, but it's conversation back and forth, and don't take offense, please, if I don't take your suggestions. Somebody else out there will. That's the good of it. Or over time, if you erase it, then no one has a chance to think about it. Well, maybe that person is right, and I want to go that direction with something. And it isn't just me. I'm sharing my situation, but other people are leaving invaluable information on these sites in the comment section. And one thing that I had today that I want to share with you Um, and that's how to get through situations like this. But this is so long. I'm going to do these later. But there is a meditation by St. Charles du Foucauld, and I have here a sermon by St. Cyril of Alexandria, in addition to a saint, Margaret the Virgin, and she's also called something else. Let me find it here. Saint Marina the Monk is another name for this woman, 3rd century. So she's interesting. So God bless His real presence in us, and I appreciate you all. Thank you for the prayers, and we've had a lot of the practical, more of the realistic, human advice, which is good. Please now help me think through what a hermit would do, and what God would want, what a spiritual life person would do. A hermit, and what God's view would be of all this. And taking into account, I didn't maybe give the information before, the house remains in my trust, in my name, until I die. So if anything should happen to the daughter, that she moves away or wants to or whatever, the house is mine. And I think I'm going to still have the eldest daughter had wanted to be, in charge of the will and everything, but she's back in the Midwest and had mentioned she didn't want to have to come out because you can do everything long distance. But for power of attorney, to get money out of the bank for you when you're indisposed, and to write checks for you, and to handle that right on site, is best to have somebody in your location do that. The other can, but it's, just a little more involved. Like if I need cash, how would they get the cash to me? Have to have it mailed or something, mail cash. And then there's also healthcare representative. That really does need to be someone on hand. It's best. Because the daughter here kept her siblings apprised of me from first thing, 5:30 in the morning. It was 7:30 their time. Immediately texted them. Mom's in the ICU. She was life and death for a while and don't know what's going on yet. Septic shock and very serious and blah, blah. So, she was keeping them updated what was going on all through the situation. So it's good to have, but she wasn't my healthcare representative in my trust, technically, but I had her as one of the persons to call. In fact, I think the only one, because the other two are so far away, it was sort of pointless. It's not like they could make arrangements with their work immediately to get away anyway. They have jobs that like the one daughter with Microsoft is on some team, and she's very technical. She's way up in some, I can't even tell you what she does. She's told me the title. I don't get it. But I think they're with the East Coast team and big corporations with problems, and they are solving their problems that they're having, that they need with their technology. And so she's not a programmer or anything, but and she's with a team that does this, a team of these computer brain team. And so these big corporations, it's a big account for Microsoft. And they know, there's not, I'm old. It's not, if there was their little child, their child or their teen, they have teen daughters. So, something like that. If they were life or death in the hospital, but not with an old person who has suffered, like they know I have suffered so long that nothing is that urgent. But if I was going to have the surgery, she said she'd already said she would have to come out, but gave him warning, So, and the son, he's with CBS doing I don't know, maybe reporting now and something. He had been a producer with NBC, so he's more in the news reporting angle of it now, and maybe with some production too. But it's not just something that you up and just say I'm not coming in. They could, but it's there again. Other people are relying on them. They have teams working. Script writers and the person in the front of the TV, in front of the camera, and like he used to do stuff for Today's Show when he was NBC, and you just can't. I mean, if it's somebody immediate, your wife or something, he's married, but there again, I taught my kids to achieve and be responsible. So in my situation, it isn't something that, since they had a sister right here who was with me, it wasn't that. When I had the injury, they flew out, but it was the next day or 2 days later or something. So that was. But there again, the one daughter, she'd had a injury, a burn on her leg, and she couldn't sit. She was just like a 2nd-degree burn or something, pretty bad. And she in ICU, I remember. Or no, we're at trauma center. Some nurse put the phone and said, "It's your daughter." Gave her name, and she said, "Mom, if you need to have brain surgery, we were waiting to find out if I needed brain surgery, because I had two brain bleeds, double brain bleed. They thought they were going to have to operate to stop the bleeding." And she says, "I'm coming out anyway, no matter what." She says, "I'll stand all the way, or as much as I can. But otherwise, I'm going to come in a week, if you're okay, if you don't." And so she did come then the next weekend, and that worked out great. The others had gone, so I had even more attention that way. So it's not a matter that, like I put it, when it's time for the guillotine, they come. If it's ready for me to die or bad, they'll come. If I am dead or something, then or nothing that can be done, then they have a little time to arrive. So, except the son, I don't think would. He's not called either, but he blocked me. I don't know if he can call me. I think he got rid of my number or something, but blocked me on all social media. But he's in trouble. I mean, he's facing consequences. He thought he was had a right to anything, and yes, when you're 40 years old and you cut off your mother and you don't invite her to your wedding, and you talk to her the way he spoke to me and has off and on, you understand that you're no longer, if you cut someone off, you're not part of their inheritance. Don't expect anything. But he did all the same. Well, I guess that's good. I should look at the bright side. He's no dummy, in there getting whatever he can and demanding it to boot, demanding it. So it's a laugh. That's a laugh. I mean, he'll have his little, all right, leave something written out, and I can change if I'm still alive and he repents and is like the prodigal son. Then I'll welcome back with open arms. But I don't know. I'm not. He would have to have a major conversion. The visions I had of him 19 and 20 years ago were not good. Not good. Nearly all taken over by the devil. And he had lost his insurance, which meant he had given up God. So, and he had given up God. He has still. So he's got a lot of mountain to climb. It'd be very easy. It's his mountain. It's not God's mountain. God would take him back in a heartbeat, and I would too. With repentance and contrition. So and regaining some trust. It would take, you have to regain trust with people that you cut off and mistreat. So that, that's just common sense for people who have it. But when the devil gets a hold of you, you lose that. You lose your common sense. And I have to even consider that the devil is the one, making me have these resentments and attachments. At my age, and with the spiritual gifts the Lord has given me, it should have been a very easy decision to let go and to go to the next place. Because this happened all the time in my life. That, anytime I get something either finished and can start enjoying it, I'm either out of money or something awful happens, like the crazy neighbor and the police said I had to leave, and my daughters wanted me to leave because it's too scary for the grandchildren. They were little then to be there with her outbursts and her threatening to kill me and stuff. So, and one of the days she probably would have, or her son would have. So, shoot your gun over at her, kill her. I would just quietly get into the house quickly as I could. But, yes, so even with my protective order, I would call bad things in and they wouldn't be arrested. Because the guy who, convinced me to get the protective order, he never answered any of the call. He wasn't the one that they'd get the calls. So the other ones would not bother looking through the reams of file on it and would go and talk with them, and they would accuse me, of course, and there was 3 of them and just 1 of me, so they'd end up getting away with a warning or something. So, don't count on protective orders. Don't count on ERs. That's my lesson now. Don't count on ERs helping you. Depends. Just depends. Most of the time, yes, we would hope so. So, God bless you all. And coming up next will be these sermons and some gospel that are very helpful. But yes, please keep leaving comments and suggestions. But if you can, try to get our spiritual caps on, our spiritual hearts in and turned on, and let's figure out how God would handle this. And under all the circumstances I'm dealing with. And knowing that stress and having more ugliness isn't going to help me. And then somebody not, turned away or something. I don't know, that people can get bent out. Yeah, and they regret it on their deathbeds, but it doesn't help you right then. So at this point, but knowing that this daughter was willing to sell off some of her divorce settlement and get her brother and sister to get this other townhome so they could just be across the street from me. She's thinking of me. But one of the siblings didn't want to do that. And as I said before, I'm glad, because it really isn't a good investment place. It would be hard to sell, and maybe wouldn't get their money back out, or not easily. So it's just as well. And it would be too much noise for me, and too much street noise, and backs up onto this busy street, but a field in front of it, or a parking lot in front of it that cars park in. There's be a lot of lights and things, so I like light, but not in the night shining in my windows and stuff. So I'm still fussy. I'm still picky. I'm not detached like a hermit should be. I should be grateful for a roof over my head and someone willing to even bother with me. So, and be willing to put in the money to finish this place. Of course, she'll have a good piece of real estate when it's all said and done and when I die. But anything can happen, so, okay, I'm talking. Dogs want their little supper made, but we had a late lunch. Didn't we, Lovey? We had late lunch. Bless you all. Thanks again for everything.